Bitcoin is at critical support, and structure-wise, this Bitcoin support level looks very similar to what we saw back in 2023. I'm not saying we will see a breakout of the same magnitude, but what I am saying, Bitcoin and crypto is now on lifeline support. This is going to be one of the most important levels for the remainder of this bull market. So that is what we need to discuss within today's update video. We will discuss a lot more, like all of the most important Bitcoin price data and charts. We will take a dive into the latest news hitting the markets. And of course, I will give a big update on my Ethereum trading position and my outlook for Ethereum itself and altcoin season. So from there, guys, make sure to first of all subscribe to the channel and watch and like my latest YouTube videos, and then we can dive into the most important content. Since I think structure-wise, Bitcoin is looking similar to what we saw back in 2023, with of course a major retraction first, then a reclaim above the support, retest, second retest, and then eventually the move higher. Bitcoin is now basically doing the same with a major rejection, then the reclaim above, first retest, second retest, and now we should see a final wave for Bitcoin in the ending stage of the bull market. I still think this is going to be a possibility, and there are a few possibilities for a final Bitcoin wave. It could be that we just bounce back to range highs and that the 4-year cycle eventually kicks in, or we truly make new all-time highs. Let's see about exactly that. We could also of course break below this level, but that is indeed going to be a little bit more bearish, I personally think, because truly confirming daily and weekly closes under this level is also going to mean that you lose the 50 daily moving average trend line on the weekly perspective here, and that is probably going to be somewhat of an indicator that the bear market is going to get started. So that is definitely not something we do want to see. We did discuss this a lot of time. During this bull market, we've always been bouncing on the 50 moving average trend line, and always from there we've seen a major recovery back up. So losing this level, just like what we saw in 2021 here, is probably going to show us or signal us that a bear market is going to get started. But that's also why this is going to be a very important support level. Truly breaking below this, making a lot of weekly or daily closes basically, is going to be very dangerous for Bitcoin. But on the other hand, if Bitcoin is going to make a final wave from off this level, I think it could be a very massive one, because structure wise we have a very good level and a lifeline to make a big move from off. So that of course does look very interesting. We do have the US stock market still outperforming the crypto market, basically outperforming everything now, with at the SPX, so the US stock market, and also the IWM, so small cap stocks, heavily outperforming the crypto market, which is quite insane, I must honestly say. Because if you, for example, overlay the US stock market, and in this case the XPX, so the US 500, with Bitcoin, you can clearly see the divergence we are now creating between the US stock market and Bitcoin itself. And that is something we don't see lots of times. So of course, very interesting, and I think Bitcoin could be catching up here with the US stock market in the near future. If so, that is going to look very good. Same can be said for lower cap stocks, but for lower cap stocks, it's mostly Ethereum that probably will be catching up, and the lower cap stocks are mostly correlated with Ethereum. So if Bitcoin catches up with the US 500, Ethereum will probably catch up with lower cap stocks, so the Russell 2000. Bitcoin is still in this major resistance zone where we have been getting rejected from in the past here. This is an important level to break. Next up is the 114k level, and then of course taking out a new high. We could also see another rejection here for Bitcoin. I'm still open for the scenario that Bitcoin falls ever so slightly lower before eventually heading higher, but let's see about that. I think on somewhat of the longer term, Bitcoin does look more bullish than on the very short term, personally. What I do see for the Bitcoin price action is that we are in somewhat of a compression phase and somewhat of a symmetrical triangle, I would say. The only problem I have with this symmetrical triangle is that the break first is to the downside here, and since the symmetrical triangle is a continuation pattern, you could also be expecting a new move lower out of the symmetrical triangle. Doesn't always happen, is not always the case, but it is a little bit dangerous, I must say. And short term, I do think Bitcoin is still looking a little bit weak, but I still believe in a final wave here in the last days of October here, maybe getting started, and the beginning of November. But it is getting tight, and I will keep you guys up to date, of course, because yes, Bitcoin needs to start moving in the near future. Otherwise, it is going to get harder and harder. Bitcoin and gold correlation, like we discussed a lot of times on the channel here. We have the gold price action basically topping out currently. It seems like gold is putting in or a very big local top and some distribution, or just a major cycle top. And if that is the case, we can expect more money to rotate into Bitcoin, like we've always seen during the major cycle tops for gold in the other cycles. Only difference is that in the other cycles it was during the halving year and not the post-halving year like we are in now in 2025. So that's indeed a big difference. I am aware of exactly that. But I also have this chart, and that shows us the exact correlation from Bitcoin and gold during this entire bull market. And that is of course that's even better than, for example, this historical chart, which is very good and which does look very good. But this shows us exactly what happened during this bull market, where we have seen the Bitcoin leading phases and the gold leading phases. Here we have a Bitcoin leading phase where Bitcoin of course moves higher and gold consolidates. Once gold starts leading, Bitcoin will consolidate and gold starts moving higher, and that happens over and over again, time and time again this cycle. So I don't think it is going to be any different, and with gold topping out here and Bitcoin making a green weekly candle, I do think it's looking quite good. Next date for gold, it seems like we are putting in somewhat of a big local top, or maybe even a cycle top, with also hitting this major resistance level for gold. So let's see about exactly that. But if gold is just going to start consolidate here or drop ever so slightly lower, I think Bitcoin will catch up a little bit in the near future. And yeah, like stated, I don't want to see Bitcoin losing the 50 daily moving average. For Bitcoin to turn truly bullish once again, I wanted to reclaim the bull market support band, and actually it is coming quite close to do so. I think that is going to be a bullish signal that we could see yet another bounce, but losing the 50 daily is going to be a big problem, and like stated, probably a bear market is going to start from there, just like we saw in 2021. So I will keep my eyes on this level, and of course I will keep you guys up to date. Of course, this week we saw the CPI data incoming cooler than expected, so that was quite bullish data. We now have a big chance of a rate cut, or basically we have a guaranteed rate cut during the next FOMC meeting in exactly 3 days. So that is going to be a very important event once again, and now traders are pricing in 3 rate cuts for 2025. So that's quite insane, because first it were only 2 rate cuts and now we are up to 3. And Deutsche Bank, but also JP Morgan, are expecting the Federal Reserve to announce QT. So not only rate cuts, but they will also be announcing the ending of QT. And that is going to be a big catalyst for Bitcoin, I personally think. Because every single time we saw QT ending for Bitcoin, we have seen major cycle moves. So that is of course super interesting. Let's see about exactly that, if history is going to repeat. But it is a big catalyst for Bitcoin if it is indeed going to get announced that QT is ending. Of course, there is no guarantee that it is truly going to happen. And now I will give a big update on my Ethereum trading position, because I'm still in this Ethereum position of about 30k in size now. I want to stay adding more in the near future here, but I'm also a little bit cautious because, like I said, I do think the market on the short term is still looking a little bit weak here. I do see the compression phases, but I'm not in a rush. I've been DCAing into my trade with, of course, you guys on the channel. I still have my limit orders open at 3.45 and 3.6, and I think I will be making some trades soon, but I will keep you guys up to date here on the channel. So make sure to don't miss out. If you do want to join me with this trade, also come over to the description of this update video, where you can claim a 20% deposit bonus and some other benefits on LBANK. Here you can sign up with my link. Not only you can claim some bonuses and benefits for yourself, you will also be supporting the channel if you're going to do so. Of course, in no way financial advice, but if you're looking for a bonus and do want to trade Ethereum or a lot of other altcoins or just Bitcoin yourself, make sure to come and check it out. Also, you can come over to my X, where I'm hosting a 1k trading bonus giveaway with LBANK. So yeah, make sure to come and check it out. It is a very nice giveaway we are currently hosting. And now I do want to discuss the Ethereum price action for a little bit longer here, because Ethereum is also seeing that compression phase I was also talking about with Bitcoin. We are creating higher lows and lower highs, so we are in a clear compression phase, and eventually the market is going to make a decision here. So I think there's a scenario where we are just going to consolidate into the next FOMC like this, just seeing continued compression, and then at the FOMC we are going to see a big decision, for example with the ending of QT getting announced, or of course the rate cut itself, but that is mostly priced in, so Let's see about exactly that, but I think the market is going to make a decision in the near future. Ethereum is still trading above the bull market support band, finding support once again there. And the last time we bounced from off the bull market support band for ETH, we saw a crazy wave up for Ethereum here. But I must say we have to see this in the near future. Because yeah, the more times you're going to test this level, the weaker it is going to become. The weaker your support will become. Same can be said for this Bitcoin level. The more times you're going to knock on this door, the higher the chance it is eventually going to break. So that is something we should keep in mind also here. Ethereum on the bull market support band. But for my trading position, I'm still targeting the second and the 1.6.8 Fibonacci levels that correspond with 5.3 and 6.4k. And I think at those levels and in between those levels, I will be scaling out in my Ethereum position. I have these targets because all these Fibonacci levels have been absolutely spot on for me this entire cycle. So that is why I'm still very bullish on these levels. And I think in the ending stage, we could still be hitting those levels because I've been saying since the lows at all these Fibonacci levels, they have been corresponding with major support or resistance. Here we have been mostly buying spot. And I always said at an reaccumulation zone retest at the 4K level, I would be getting interested in opening and trade. And that is exactly what we are doing with our entry price at 4K here. So I'm just following the game plan I had since basically 2024. So yes, I would just keep following my long-term game plan. And of course, I will keep you guys up to date on the channel here. And guys, make sure if you enjoyed the update video to come over to my channel, subscribe to the channel, watch and like my latest YouTube videos. And then I will see you guys in my next update video tomorrow.